Hello, good morning, and this is Thomas, and gonna do a little walkthrough about setting up a Middleman application together with HAML for templating and RSpec for acceptance tests. Well, any kind of test, I guess, but we're gonna do some acceptance testing with RSpec. So the first thing we want to do is, of course, do a gem Middleman, gem install Middleman, sorry, in order to get this down to our system. And we're just standing someplace on our in our folder structure, wherever we want to place this application. And I'm getting some errors, but you don't have to worry about them, and it's also possible that you won't get those errors when you do gem install Middleman. So it installed Middleman 4.1.8, which is a fairly new release, so we can move ahead and do the scaffolding of our application. So the command we want to use to start an application is Middleman init, and then I'm going to call my application my portfolio. And what this does, this actually creates a folder called my portfolio and places all the scaffolded Middleman files in it. So that's why I haven't started or initiated any Git repository or version control yet. I will do that as the next step. So I just run this command, and we see Middleman asking us a few questions in a second, hopefully. This is always exciting. Yes. So do we want to use Compass? And at this stage, we're just going to say no. We want to say yes to live reload, and we want to say no to running this as a rack compatible application, because we want to be able to deploy this to any servers. So we're going to say no on that. So no, yes, no, basically. And now Middleman runs bundle install, and that should be pretty fast, or not. Well, it kind of went rather fast. And as usual, you see that there are a lot of the dependencies that are being installed out of the box. I'm going to cd into that folder. My portfolio, this is it. And now I'm going to do a git init to initiate a new Git repository. Do a git status as a sanity check. Looks good. And I'm going to add all files to my Git repo and do a first commit. Scaffolded Middleman app. Scaffold, yeah. Okay. So what we can do now is, just as a sanity check, we can do Middleman server, and Middleman is initiating a local server for us, and we get a nice little HTTP address here that we can take and run in our browser. So let's do that, and we'll see that Middleman is up and running, which is cool. Thank you for that. So moving on. Yes. So we stop the server by pressing Control and C, and we're gonna pop open our RubyMine, which is my development tool, and I'm gonna open the let's see, let's open the project, and that's called in solutions my portfolio. Here we go. We can open this in a new window. Here we are. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is to have a look in our gem file. This looks a little messy, so I'm gonna remove some comments that Middleman created for us. We can remove all of these gems because we are not working on Windows-based computers, so this can go. What we want to do is we want to add these two gems, the Middleman sprockets and Middleman deploy for later use, and we want to add a templating engine, and that's going to be HAML. We want to create a group called development and test, and we want to add some gems into that group. And I'm just going to paste some code here so we can get this show on the road. So we're going to add, oh sorry, no cucumber. So we're going to add Capybara WebKit. We're going to use a debugger called Pry. We're going to add Launchy. Launchy is used for some commands where we want to debug by opening up a browser, and of course we're going to add RSpec. So as usual, when we add new dependencies, we have to run bundle install. So let's do that. And to do, okie dokie. So we just added RSpec as a testing framework, so we want to do RSpec in it, as we usually do, and that will create the spec folder for us, a spec helper, and a hidden file called .rspec. We want to go into that hidden file, as we often do when we test with RSpec, and we want to add format documentation, so we get a nice verbose output from RSpec. So let's close that file, and we want to go in and modify the spec helper, and I will make this code available to you guys. The spec helper setup for testing Middleman applications is rather specific. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete everything from here for now, and I'm going to paste this code that I had prepared yesterday when I struggled with this. And what this does is, what we want to happen is that when we run RSpec, we want to initiate the Middleman server and create a new Middleman application that is contained in the project folder. And this is basically what this does for us. It sets the environment to development. I'm not totally convinced that this is the best solution, but this is a working solution at least, when we might change this setup during the week if we come up with something better. But this is the bare minimum setup that I need to have in order to be able to test Middleman applications with RSpec. So let's save this for now, and let's see if we are up and running. Just a sanity check, and you're just going to run RSpec. We don't have any specs written yet, so this should return 0 scenarios, so 0 specs. And it does. No examples found, 0 examples, 0 failures. So that's pretty cool, I think. Okay, so there are two things that we want to do at the moment, and I'm going to start with just with working with the template engine first, and then I'm going to set up. I'm going to add some basic acceptance tests to show you how acceptance testing is done with RSpec. But let's start with the templating engine. In the source folder, we have our layouts and our templates. And as you see out of the box, Middleman is using ERB. We want that to change, so we're gonna rename this file to index.html.haml instead of .erb, and now all the color coding is changed and everything. So we're going to remove this title for now, and I'm going to start writing some HAML first, just to have the same layout. I'm going to write the same thing as we already had in HTML and ERB, but I'm going to do it in HAML. So we know that the div tag is added for us by HAML like magic kind of thing. So the only thing I need to do first is say .welcome, which will create a div with the class of welcome. Underneath, I want to create another div with the class of logo, so I just go like this. The next thing I want to do is that I want to add an image tag, and we know that if we want to render something, we have to have an equal sign, and we use the image tag helper method. And we see that we used something, an image called Middleman logo SVG. So let's just add that logo.svg like this, and we close that that tag by going one step backwards, and we want to have an H1 saying Middleman is running. So let's add that. It's a percentage sign with H1, and we just say Middleman is running like this. The next thing is that I want to have a paragraph tag with the class of doc, which means that I say percentage sign p dot doc, and inside of that paragraph I want to have a link. So we just go equal link to read documentation, online, then a comma, and then I just want to grab this URL from here so I don't have to type it in myself. Like this, something. And what else? Well, there is a target blank, so let's just continue with that. Target, and then I say underscore blank. Like this. And that should do it. Then we just have the closing tag of the P and the div, and that's it. So in comparison here, what you see now from line 12 downward is the HAML markup for the same thing as you see from line 2 to line 10. So you see, it is much shorter way and much more smooth way, in my opinion, to write HTML tags and add the Ruby into that. So we're going to remove all of this and save this file. I'm going to go back to my terminal, fire up the Middleman server again, and just pray to our Lord and Savior that I haven't made any mistakes, and go over to my browser and reload this page, and things should be running. Yes, they are. So you might not believe me that I actually did anything. So let's say that instead of Middleman is running, I want to say hello Thomas, and I'm going to save this. And since we have reload activated, the browser is automatically reloading the page on save, and we see that hello Thomas is being displayed. So this is the fairly simple process of transforming or translating the your ERB files into HAML. So that should be it. Okay. Now let's minimize. Let's move this out of our way for now. And focus a little bit on testing this site using RSpec. So let's go over to our terminal. We can stop the server now. And what I want to do first is to just make a decision that my acceptance tests will be placed in a feature folder under the spec folder. So I'm just going to create that folder first. So I'm going to call it features, and then I'm going to create a file in that folder called indexspec.rb. Okay, so let's head over to that file. Where are we? We're in spec. Sorry, features, index spec feature. Okay, so let's make this a little bigger so you guys can see everything. And the first thing we want to do is, of course, require the spec helper. Like this. Whoops. We don't have to use that like this. So, okay, so we're going to add a describe block. And we're going to say that this describes the index HTML, or just index. And we have to tell RSpec that this is an acceptance test file. And we do that by saying type feature, like this. Okay, so I want to add a before block, and in my before block I want to visit the root path. This will be executed before every if block that is nested inside of this describe block, basically. So we're just gonna say that it says hello to Thomas, which is like a really stupid test message, but this is what we're gonna go for now. And so we're just gonna say that expect page to have content hello. Was it hello Thomas, or what was it he was saying actually? Let's see. Yes, hello Thomas. Hello Thomas. Okay, so this is the basic markup for an assertion that something is visible on the page. So let's just head over to our terminal window, and we want to run RSpec, and that fires up the application, and it says hello to Thomas, one example and 0 failures. And of course in here we have access to all the Capybara commands that are available for us by the good people of eLabs from Gothenburg, because they are the people behind Capybara actually. So anyway, we can, in our acceptance test, we can often have many assertions, so we can say that, you know, we can expect the page to have a selector with h1, and within that selector h1 we want to assert that this hello Thomas, that's what it is. So we're just going to move this up in here and see if that still passes. So with h1 tag. So let's just head over here and run this RSpec again and see if I made any typos or mistakes. And it looks all green to me. All right. So we can also test for well, now I'm not testing for any interactions. I'm just testing for some you know, elements, which is, you know, a little bit of a corner case. So you don't have to do. I prefer us to test for, you know, when I click on some link, or, you know, but some actions that user does. But I would say that in this case, when we train how to, or learn how to test with RSpec, writing assertions and expectations about your content is not entirely out of place in any way. So I would say that's perfectly fine. Let's add another it block and check for the image. This displays Middleman logo, and we want to expect page to have CSS, and here comes my beloved markup for testing with an image is there. So we want to have an image, and that image should have a source of yes, what was the source? It was Middleman logo SVG, right? Middleman logo .svg. So you see, I just actually learned this, that when you check for source, you have to have this, the source in hard brackets, and there needs to be a star before the equal sign. And if you'd ask me why, I have no answer for you. It's just the way it is. So let's try that. See if this passes for us. And it looks like it kinda does. All right. So that should be it. And if I do my git status, I see that I have some new files. And since I'm working in the RubyMine IDE, I also need to go in and update my git ignore with ignore RubyMine files. And I just add this, and I just add something like this. And now if I go back and do git status, they are gone, so I can git add dot git commit transform index.erb to HAML set up RSpec with initial tests, something like this. Here we go. So what I want to do now, or need to do now, is to go to my GitHub account and create a new repository. And I want to say my portfolio. Just create an empty repo, grab my address, go back to my terminal, do git remote add origin, and add this URL to it like this, and do a git push origin master to push up to my master branch. And once I've done that and I reload this page, I have everything up and running, but for some reason I have my idea file still there, which really pisses me off. So I'm going to do what? I'm going to do git add m cache idea. Okay, so I'm going to remove it recursively. Let's just, for the sake of it, remove it like this. So git status. Okay, git commit removed .idea files and do a git push origin master again and see if we're still there, and we're not. Good. Okay, so now what I've shown you so far is how to use HAML as the template engine, how to set up the Middleman project to start with, how to use HAML as the template engine, and how to write basic specs using RSpec and tests for our content and whatever interaction. So with this setup, you can use all the commands that Capybara gives us, and we can test for that. And by placing all your acceptance tests in the features folder, you can separate them from any other test that you will have, basically. Okay, so that will conclude this little walkthrough. I hope you find Middleman and HAML and acceptance tests with RSpec as good as I find them. And happy coding, guys.